Good afternoon. Happy Friday, Miami sports fans. Welcome back to the Miami Sports Break. I'm David Eversole. Got Jaccare Givens there backstage as well. He's just getting set up, so he's going to be with us in just a moment. Well, a lot to catch up. It's been a busy week, believe it or not, with everything going on between the NBA draft, the Olympics. There he is. What's going on, brother?
Good, man.
So, yeah, a lot to talk about, man. But the thing that's been on my mind the most actually this week is the whole Xavien Howard situation. So, before we talk about what the Heat did last night, adding a lot of players in the guard rotation, want to touch on the Xavien Howard story for a few minutes. He was out of practice today, reported with an ankle injury. So, Jock, what do you think's going on under the surface there with Xavien Howard and the Dolphins?
Well, he's not going to practice, and a lot of guys are going to start going through this method. They're not going to not report why get fined $50K, donate $50,000 to a team. Well, you can just show up to camp, do professionalism, but they fake an undiagnosable injury, so an ankle, a hamstring injury, something like that. Hey, like I was running and I tweaked my ankle. You can't tell me if my ankle feels better or not unless it's broken,
Right.
or, a high ankle sprain, but some minor like that. So I think you'll see that now more than ever with some of the people who are playing football now, which is smart by them. Don't miss out on your money. Don't donate to a team for no reason. But my thoughts on Howard is, like I've been saying, he's a great corner. I think he's top 8, top 10 in the league. But like I told people, he had that season last year because they added Byron Jones. It's not because of how great of a player he was. No, they added Byron Jones. People were targeting him more, Xavien Howard more last year because they were scared of Jones. And it's just the reality of the cornerback position. Like the best corners in the league are not going to ever catch 10 interceptions because they're not getting targeted that much, right? So if they do trade him, like I said, I only see one trade happening. I know he has his legal issues right now, and that's Deshaun Watson. But that's the only deal I would make: Deshaun Watson for Xavien Howard and 2 first-round picks, because it's the only logical deal. I would not move him for a Chandler Jones. If you move him for just a draft pick, you're only going to get like a second or third round pick. And are you really winning that trade if you trade him to a like Saints team or to a contender, period? You're getting a high third round pick basically, even though it's in the second. So I just think they should stay the course, and if he's gonna play him. He's not gonna miss out on his money, but like I said, Howard has to, one, get out of his feelings about being disrespected, because this is a passing league, so you have to have 3 good cornerbacks. And 2, I don't like 2. He made a mistake on signing that bad contract. That's the reason why he has a new agent now, because his previous agent, excuse my language, they fucked him over, right? So he came out blatant and said, I didn't understand the contract. So at this point, he's kind of at a lose-lose situation. I do hope they come to heads, because, the Dolphins are, it's better to play with 2 corners, like 2 good top 10, top 15 corners. Like you have to have that. So I hope it comes to a head, but if not, I only see one trade being made for him, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Howard and Byron Jones dynamic, because I know we've mentioned a few times that you don't really talk about another man's money, but you saw that tweet from Adam Schefter and the statement that Howard made. He kind of basically pointed directly to the Byron Jones contract situation as a reason for his being disgruntled, if you will. So what do you think of that? I mean, if he stays, is it going to be a fractured locker room? I mean, do you think he can just remain professional and ride it out and play out this deal? Or do you think it's inevitable that he's going to be moved in one shape or another?
Me personally, I've always said he should have been traded at the draft, because you could have capitalized the most off his value. And plus, the real reason that Howard hasn't been moved yet is because the league watches film, so they know what guys is what, right? So it's like, hey, as a fan, you'd be like, oh, this guy's such a great player, but the league watches film, i.e. Julio Jones. Julio Jones has been, if not one of the 2 best receivers in the league for the last, 10 years? And you move him, you only get a 3rd round pick for him, right? 2nd round pick for him, right? You think Julio Jones has been at the top of his game. And it's the same thing with Xavien Howard. Like, we know what he is. I know what he is just for playing football and being around the game. I'm sure if you cut the tape on, it's times where he's getting beat. But like I said, if you target a guy 170 times or higher, example, and he kept like he's gonna have a good season. He has great ball skills, so he's always gonna make plays. But like I said, I've been saying this for how long? Byron Jones was the reason why Xavien Howard had the season he had. Howard benefited from Jones' presence on the other side. And just like this season, if Howard stays, Jones will benefit from his presence because they're going to target Jones more and he'll have his moments to make them pay, right? And I just didn't know what Xavien Howard's point was because Byron Jones was going to get $20 million wherever he went. He had offers from the Eagles and what I'm saying? So he was going to get it on the open market. So I don't really know what his dynamic was there. Xavien Howard reset the corner market, and then another guy followed after him. And I think Byron Jones came right after him at $20 million. And now you look at Jalen Ramsey, who I think is at 21 or 22. And then you look at Jair Alexander. He's going to be at 23. It's just how free agency works. Yeah, somebody sets the market and somebody ups it,
Yeah, always. But what's going on, guys? Afternoon, Dono and Troy. Thanks for checking us out. But I want to just look at the defense as a whole because obviously with Howard on the boundary there, it really gives you a lot of options in terms of attacking the opposing offense. So can you picture the Dolphins off on defense without Howard, and how would they adjust? I know Igbinoghene obviously is one person that would probably move up in the depth chart if Howard was to be traded somewhere else. But do you think this defense could survive without Howard and be a top 5, top 10 defense again?
Absolutely. You look at Noah Igbinoghene, Nick Needham, those guys. It really comes down to Igbinoghene's growth. If he grows this camp and he's what they think, they're gonna trade Xavien Howard. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're gonna get rid of him because they're comfortable with Nick Needham at the slot. He played very well there the previous season. He had an up and down season this year. You still got Javon Holland, Brandon Jones, the D line will be better this year because they have pass rushers. So I think as a whole, yes, they can be better defensively. Obviously with Howard, they were top 5, top 10 defense. I still think they can maintain that. Be a little bit tougher always, but I don't understand. Howard's a great. I know people be like, oh, I hate Xavien. No, Howard's a great corner, but it's guys you will take over him right now, right? And it's like. You would. So it's like if they make a deal, you wouldn't be upset if they trade him because he's going to become more of a hindrance than he is a help to the team. If he keeps his attitude, his agent is terrible as well. He's not helping the situation. But the Dolphins can definitely maintain that top 5 to top 10 defense just because of how they scheme. They're a pressure-oriented team. Now I think with that pass rusher up front, be a lot easier to play cornerback there anyway. So you just have to see the growth of Igbinoghene, and then obviously it depends on Jalen Phillips, how he turns out. I know he got a little banged up today, but that's all that matters is the growth. But if he becomes a nuisance, you trade him. Like I said, Howard's a good corner, but he's not what everybody thinks he is.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a wait and see, get through training camp, and I think one way or another, Xavien Howard is probably going to be on the team unless there's just a deal that absolutely makes Miami jump at it because they don't want to sell low. They don't want to sell low on Howard. I don't think.
Yeah, he's only
he's
getting
too important. He's young.
He's only getting moved for one person, man, and that's Deshaun Watson. I know fans
or Kamar, but that'll never happen.
What do you mean? I think that's the only logical deal for both teams.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many hypotheticals, and I think the Dolphins just sort of have to let things unfold over the next week or two and make a move in one direction or another. But I want to switch it up. Obviously, the Miami Heat, we know about them and the NBA draft. They're not really so much involved when the draft is actually on the first couple rounds, but once again, they're out there looking for gems. They went through the undrafted players and added a ton of guys in the backcourt rotation, different skill sets, different focuses, whether it be like three-level scoring or it be point of attack defenders or some 3-and-D type guys as well on the wings. But what do you think about what the Heat's doing in terms of the offseason? I know
Well,
you might be interested in one guy in particular from your alma mater, KU, Marcus Garrett. So to talk about a few of these guys that the Heat are bringing in for summer league and G League, et cetera. Think any of these guys could maybe stick, or are they just sort of
well,
putting?
they all have something in common. They all are big guards, right?
Yeah, a lot
Six
of
five,
size,
6'6"
six
guards.
five and up. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them add the off the ball shooting. I love Marcus Garrett. I think he's gonna play in the NBA one because his defense is elite. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have a Terrence no, not a Terrence man. Yeah, Terrence man from
What's it?
like Florida State like type thing. You just have to see. But Miami always has a guy who sticks as an undrafted guy. They got
Mm-hmm.
one on the team for 15 years with Udonis,
Kendrick
Gabe
Nunn.
Vincent. They have Kendrick Nunn, so I think they have success there. And the guards have a chance to make the team because they don't
Yeah.
have guards at the moment.
Right.
And we don't know what Oladipo's not re-signed. You don't know if Goran Dragic is gonna come back, as the same player as he was. So I think they added what they needed. I do think they're gonna still try to go after Alonzo Ball and free agency or a guard to help, but I think those guys have a chance to stick because
Uh,
we're weak at the guard position.
yeah. I mean, there's so many guys they brought in: Javante Smart, AJ Lawson, RJ Nembhard. Obviously, Marcus Garrett, we talked about Drew Smith. One guy I like is Deke Giroux from Houston, 6'5", real good point of attack defender. He's pretty aggressive on offense as well, good facilitator. I think I believe he was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year last year,
Yeah.
the year before last. So they're looking for those guys that obviously fit the Heat identity in terms of defensive mindset, but I think the player development is what they're banking on here. They're just going to bring in some bodies that
Yeah.
fit a certain need, and they're going to develop somebody, and somebody's going to stick. I agree. I think one or two of these guys, like you said, the backcourt is wide open. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities there. Nobody's really set in stone beyond the top one or two in the rotation at the guard spot. So spots 10 through 15 are going to be interesting for the Heat. I think they're going to really try to focus on getting some depth in the backcourt and getting some athleticism. Obviously, we got a lot of uncertainty with Duncan Robinson. Are they going to throw the bag at him? Because he's going to be in that $20 million range as well. So a lot of things. I think Hero's going to bounce back from the sophomore slump. I think
I
it
think
looks.
he's gonna be traded though.
You think? Yeah, I mean, he's a good candidate for a trade as well, but it looks like he's really taking the offseason seriously, and he's putting on some weight and some muscles. So they've got a lot of uncertainty, but I like the fact that they're bringing in guys that fit their identity as a team that maybe wouldn't have such a big challenge to get them into the program. And yeah, somebody mentioned here Voodoo Vision. You're 7 at center. That's going to be very interesting as well. And somebody else who I think is Precious Achua. Obviously, we've seen with Nigeria with KZ and Precious on the international stage, these guys are a little bit more relaxed, and you're sort of seeing what I think the vision for him a little bit was when they
And
drafted him.
Dame Lillard made a great point. These guys, I don't know why they play so much better, and you know.
Mm-hmm. There's no pressure, but yeah, somebody like your 7 as well. I mean, he's got definitely a good track to make the roster and have some minutes as well because they have no bigs really. And I
And
think you got to get Bam Dak down at the 5. You got to figure out a way to get
I
him
also,
back.
like I said, I think Justice Winslow is gonna be a sneaky free agent play for Miami. Bring him back in the point guard role.
Anything is possible. I mean, at this point, I think Miami's looking at these undrafted guys and saying, okay, if we can get one or two of these developmental guys, we're still in the market for somebody like a Kyle Lowry. I think they're going to go with a balance. They're going to definitely have to upgrade with a marquee name at the point guard position, and then have somebody to develop into that secondary ball handler guy off the bench who can just run the offense, and there's not much of a drop off on defense. So I'm really intrigued to see how these guys get into the program with summer league and see who starts to separate themselves a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting couple months, definitely for sure for the Heat. So, and training camp is going to be really in full swing next week. Obviously, we're going to be down there with 3 yards per carry, and everybody else is going to be covering the Dolphins. You're going to make it down there to camp this year, Jock?
Yeah, I'll be down there probably starting the week after. I'll go down there. Also, Kane start camp August 6th, which they're preparing for a big game. So, and they got a
Yeah,
big commitment today. Um, the corner, I think he's the number 11 ranked guy, Traquan Fagans.
Pagans, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, another 2022 cornerback class is really looking good for Miami. I know it's something they were kind of lacking in this current class. So I'm glad to see that the pipeline is open. They're really bringing in some good talent, and I think the names, images, and likenesses isn't hurting the Hurricanes at all. I think people are seeing an opportunity here to come to this market and really
Yeah.
become a star off the field as well. So I think Miami has a good opportunity with the NIL agreements in place now that they can be a destination for college athletes that maybe aren't going to make it to Alabama, but are still really highly recruited prospects. So
Chris
with
Chris Bryant
everything,
got traded, by the way.
who did?
Chris Bryant to the Giants.
Oh, oh man, yeah, MLB. A lot of moves are making. Yeah, 3 for 90. I mean, that's a lot of money for Lowry. I agree for an older point guard. I mean, I don't think you need to put that much money on him. He's got to
Hey,
find a little bit.
Miami has to deviate from the veterans and get younger players. To me,
I think you still need that one guy, though. I think you need that general on the floor, and Lowry fits if the money's right. If not, you're just gonna have to wing it with who you got, I guess. But we're gonna have a lot of interesting storylines coming in the offseason, obviously with the Dolphins as well, ramping up here as training camp gets underway. So we're gonna be back next week. We're gonna try to get you a show at least once or twice a week as the football season kicks off. We're gonna have a lot of
shout
great
out to the
promotions throughout the
Lakers.
network.
Shout out to the Lakers. We gotta show
Yeah.
homage.
Oh,
For
real
the
quick, yeah.
trade.
I know you want to talk about the big trade of the night. It was kind of a quiet draft night, actually. There wasn't really a lot of marquee moves. I think obviously the big move before that, I think it was Valachunas was the big move, and then obviously last night with the bomb that Russ is going back home to LA to play with LeBron and AD. I'm just thinking about that offense. I'm like, man, do they have anybody that can shoot? Because I think KCP, they're gonna miss one guy. They're gonna miss probably Pope as far as that spot up shooter. They're gonna have to find ways to score from the perimeter. But I
It
mean,
it,
that's a
it
pretty
make
good
it
three.
make it makes other teams have to get better though if you want to contend. So I think it'd probably be a little bit more movement in free agency than we
Yeah.
thought it would be. But I mean, I like it for the game of basketball. I think it'll
Mhm.
be an interesting like saga, just to see who comes out the West.
Well, Russ
So
wants to win. I've never questioned that, and I'm a Westbrook guy. I mean, a lot of people don't like Westbrook. I mean,
I thought
other than,
Miami should have moved, like should have made the trade for him.
yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the offense has to orbit around him, though. So in LA, obviously with LeBron, LeBron is going to kind of dictate how Westbrook fits into that system. Because LeBron is obviously going to be the engine along with AD of that team. But I think if Westbrook can stop pulling up and shooting crazy threes 5 seconds into the shot clock, and just be that dog and just push the tempo, get them some easy buckets. He's going to facilitate. He's going to get LeBron and AD plenty of shot opportunities. I just think he has to kind of defer as far as like wanting to get his all the time in terms of scoring. But I mean, they're going to be very formidable. I'm not sure how it's going to work in terms of spacing and shooting with that team. But that's one thing you can find in the NBA is you can usually find guys on pretty reasonable deals to fill it out from deep.
Yeah,
So,
that's the only
you know,
good thing. I hope Miami makes a trade. Maybe Dame Lillard because we've heard that name. So we'll see, man. It's an interesting
yeah,
offseason, but I think Miami is going to be one of the epicenters of the sports world during basketball and football season. So I think we're in
yeah,
for a strong, strong year from all three sports.
yeah. Next week we're going to
I mean,
focus
all three
heavy on
teams.
the. Yeah, no, I hear you. I think next week we're going to focus heavy on the Dolphins here at the break and give you a lot of what's going on from training camp throughout the network as well. So before we wrap it up, Jock, where can they find you on social?
King Jock 24.
And you got me at David W. Eversole. And I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll be back next week.